Welcome to the workshop Advertisement Psychology being conducted as a part of pre-conference events for Media Meet 2020. Let me begin with wishing you all a very happy Independence Day. We bring to you today's workshop titled Advertisement Psychology by Mr. Prakash Raghupati. Prakash is currently the Associate Creative Director at Connect, an independent digital marketing agency which believes in marrying old school branding principles with new age solutions. Recognized by his company with the Never Say Die Spirit Award, a recognition given out annually to one employee, Prakash carries experience in solving internal communication challenges, big and small, for multiple audiences. Prakash, I invite you to please take over.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Thank you for participating in the workshop, especially on a Saturday and on a public holiday. Really appreciate it. Uh, I'll just quickly give you guys a little bit of context on what we are going to be doing today. Advertising psychology is a very vast domain. I mean, in future, if you choose to be media people, you're going to look at it very differently. If you choose to be designers, you're going to look at it very differently. And if you choose to be writers, you're going to look at it very differently. So there's a certain framework within which we are going to be operating today. We'll start by listening to a few stories about how brands have approached or leveraged human psychology in order to create ads. What you are seeing on screen right now are a bunch of words that you're going to come across when you start working in advertising, right? If you go through books on advertising psychology, you're going to be taught about principles such as scarcity, authority, right? How the left brain works, how the right brain works. If you're going to be a designer or if you're going to be a design strategist sometime, you're going to be focusing a lot on color theory. We're going to focus on two major things today. One is Bernbach, William Bernbach. Basically, we're going to hear one or two stories about what he did when it came to leveraging human psychology. And the other part of how, even in a subject that's as theoretical as psychology, we can afford to not be boring. So let me just get started with a few stories. So Listerine is a classic case study of how the advertising fraternity basically used the very fabric of society in order to push a product. For all of those who don't know, Listerine is essentially initially was a toilet cleaner. And once they reformulated the product, they were basically struggling to figure out as to how to sell a product that people don't need. These were the times when bad breath was not considered to be something that people would worry about. And so what people thought was, what the people at Listerine did was that they created a fake disease. They created a fake disease called halitosis, which was essentially nothing but bad breath. And they perpetuated this idea through ads wherein they would show one person sitting separately from the rest of the group in isolation. The ads would carry copy or headlines talking about how you don't want to be the person who's always left out. And hence, you need something that keeps your breath fresh and healthy. And that's exactly what Listerine did, right? So as you would notice that it's possible to just look very closely at how people operate in their day-to-day lives, what they like, what they dislike, what they're thinking on a day-to-day basis. And that's where you can create a certain space that you can latch onto in order to promote your product. Moving on. A similar story is that of Diamond Shreddies, right? Shreddies was a breakfast cereal back in the day, and now it's been discontinued. But in 2008, what the people at Shreddies realized was that while they had a quality product, while people still loved their product, right, sales were dipping. Sales were dipping because there was a lot of competition in the market. And one fine day, while they were doing a focus group, someone said that, we should probably figure out what kind of flavors people like, right? Are they looking at uh, other kinds of components or constitutions to the product itself? And interestingly, one intern just stood up and said that it's a square, but it's also a diamond. While that was supposed to be a joke, it resonated so well with the people inside the focus group. As you can see on screen, they also released a combo pack. They released ads of the very same focus groups where people were basically humoring themselves by saying that, yes, they can actually see a diamond and they prefer the diamond better than the square. The reason this entire gimmick worked well was that all of a sudden, this brand, which was just a product, a breakfast cereal product, became a friend. It became that friend in your group who cracks bad jokes. And that's something that resonates with us on a daily basis, right? When you look at all your social media pages, the pages you follow, the content creators you follow, the entire culture of memes, the entire culture of trolls is based on the simple insight that people love self-deprecating humor and they appreciate people who indulge in self-deprecating humor. And so this simple insight of saying it to win several awards, and in less than 3 months, their sales rose by close to 18%. Is anyone here who can tell me about the Volkswagen Beetle story? When this ad uh, first came out, right? The makers of Volkswagen actually went door to door on Madison Avenue, and they got a lot of the established agencies to basically figure out how to sell this car. Because at that point in time, cars were all about specs, cars were all about luxury, and they were a status symbol. So, how do you sell a car which right now, a car that we view as something that's cute or that's beautiful was essentially seen as ugly back in the day? And this is where Burnback comes in. This is where Burnback comes in, wherein he said, I'm going to shun all data. I do not want to know what people like in their cars, but I want to know what people face the brunt of when they buy a car. And that's how Think Small was born. Because if you read that ad at the very end, it says that you don't have to think about the big bills that come by virtue of buying a car, the big bills that come by virtue of the fuel expenses or maintenance expenses. And that was a revolution. It just, this ad basically shows us that, you can just look at people on how they function on a day-to-day basis from a different perspective, and you can arrive at a very strong insight in terms of your communication. If you remember the Avis ad, it did the same thing. It said, we are number two, we try harder. All of a sudden, people felt so relatable to the brand because they said, okay, here's a brand that's down to earth. Here's a brand that's just like us, right? And that's what did the trick for them. So in all of the examples that we've seen so far, what we've noticed is that a keen eye, an astute observation of just everyday habits of people can help us identify a unique space for the brand, make the brand likable, and also make the brand more sellable. Now, before we move into our tasks, there's one last slide that I'd like to show to you guys. So the key difference between how McDonald's always advertised its products versus how Burger King advertised the Whopper is this. McDonald's capitalized on the fact that our meal is a celebration. Our meal is a coming together of food business, right? If you look at chips, they talk about familial feeling and celebration. If you look at pizzas, they talk about friendships. If you look at any other burger brand, they're talking about friendships. So what Burger King did was that, and I'd urge you guys to actually go through as many campaigns as you can about Whopper burgers, and you'll realize that in most of the campaigns they are giving out the Whopper burger for free, right? It's always attached to some sort of contest. It's always attached to some sort of guerrilla marketing initiative. They have positioned the Whopper burger as a reward for people. It's reward for an effort. It's reward for a competitive effort. And they do it so many times. They do it so often that people started wondering at one point in time that do people actually ever buy the Whopper burger? It always comes for free. It comes as a reward. But what it did to people was that after a certain point in time, even while they were paying money to buy a Whopper, it felt like a reward. It felt like they deserved it. They were part of a clan that is always winning, that is always putting McDonald's down in some way. That's always cool, right? So, so yeah, essentially, that's the Whopper Burger story. I hope everyone could see that ad. So if you noticed, here's what they did, right? The more you try to show the kind of regulations that are going to be in place when you're traveling, the more you show people engaging in social distancing, right? It throws out the idea of an ideal vacation out of the window. It doesn't show that you can enjoy or live to your fullest when you're on a cruise or when you go for a holiday. And this is where they tactfully played it. They played on the psychology of how much a pet owner loves his or her own pet, right? They showed, they leveraged that sentiment, saying that you would do anything for your pet. And if you saw the visual progression, they just did a very nice story, a very feel good story about what these pets would feel. And they just cut to a shot of the cruise liner. They didn't show anything in between. They didn't show sanitizing stations. They didn't speak about wearing masks. They did nothing. All of a sudden, the whole idea of taking a vacation went from being an exercise of taking precautions to just doing something nice for your pets. And this is exactly what worked for them. The ads that you guys shared, the insights are good. The insights are bang on. When you spoke about human anxiety, that's very true. In fact, we're going to be working on a brief which will include that as well. Uh, the fact about telling people that, you know, your cabins are safe or your cruise liner is safe is equally important. But how you say it out in this current environment also makes a lot of difference. The moment you saw those cats and dogs and their stories, it brings a smile on your face. It doesn't tell you like I have to take a leap of faith and go for this vacation. So whenever you're looking at a brief, especially in the current situation, always try to find that single perspective or the single insight that stands out. You'll find multiple. When you do a data analysis, you're going to find that yes, people are anxious. When you try to do a sentiment analysis, you're going to find out that yeah, people are probably not wanting to go for a vacation right now. But this is a trigger. This is a trigger saying that, all right, if my dog has been at home for 3 months, I need to do something for him, or I need to do something for my cat. So you guys saw what they did, right? Every single time we watch a movie, we watch any series, we watch an ad where people are wanting to let out their frustrations. We see these situations where they are running either to a mountain top or to an open field and they are just screaming. And that's precisely what a lot of people wanted to do, right? Because they were locked in their homes. So all they did was that we'll record your scream, we'll let it out. What this does is when they created a website which basically recorded all these screams, first and foremost, you're telling the consumer that today your scream is here. 6 months hence, you would want to go to that place and scream again. That becomes a photo op, that becomes a social share opportunity for the audience, right? And that's what did the trick for them. They didn't bank on nostalgia because they realized that if you removed Iceland out of the picture and you said Switzerland, some of the ideas we discussed would work for any of the countries, correct? They picked the right locations that were open where you won't find people. And they said that you need Iceland because Iceland is going to help you alleviate your frustration. What they also did as an add-on is they signed up with a mental health care agency. So each time you let out your scream on this website, recorded your scream, you would also find a phone number or a chatbot that would actually help you talk to a mental health professional. So they basically hit two birds with one stone. They made you feel better while sitting at home. And please go check out this website. If I know at the face of it, this idea seems so lame and so simple. Like, why would I want to record my screen? But if you actually go on the website, you'll realize that there's so many people from across the world who've taken the effort of recording their scream, because otherwise it seems like, why is this person screaming? But now you've given them an outlet, you've given them a purpose to scream and get rid of their frustration. So that's what did the trick. We're going to look at one last brief. Again, this is going to follow the pattern of our previous brief. It needs to be a social media innovation. I'll give you a cue. It has to be mobile phone dependent, right? It has to be mobile phone dependent. Another cue I'll give you, it has to be a prank, right? It has to be a prank that can go viral. So here's the last brief. Amidst the pandemic, pizza sales have surprisingly shot through the roof. Apparently, people are ordering pizzas in for dinner. That's what their concept of a family dinner has become. They are ordering in pizzas. Popeye's Kitchen is popular in the United States. Popeye's Kitchen wants people to order their family meal instead. And to incentivize people for ordering the family meal, they are giving a $5 discount. Create a social media campaign to help people achieve the same. Remember, people are ordering pizzas. You want them to order the meal from Popeye's Kitchen. You get a $5 discount. How are you going to do it? So I'll just jump to showing you what they did finally, and we'll come back. So you guys saw how simple it can be. It's just about picking up someone's phone using the autocorrect feature and basically getting them to say Popeyes instead of pizza. And if you share that, this became such a massive viral campaign. The whole point that I'm trying to make with all of these briefs is that once you step into the world of advertising, you're going to be bombarded with a lot of theory, with a lot of data. But when it comes to creating an ad or creating a campaign, if you look at psychology, it's extremely simple and beautiful. All you have to do is look around. In this exercise, you guys would have noticed that some of you actually got the insight correctly, right? Be it Heineken, be it Snickers, be it Iceland tourism. What we have in front of us in terms of social media formats, trends, tools, etc., are just devices that we need to use. But when it comes to creating an ad, you can sit back, just think about what people are talking, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and that's all it takes to create a good piece of communication. I'd urge you guys to look at a few other campaigns, especially from a social media standpoint, that leverage extremely simple insights. Please look at the Honda Civic R campaign, right? I mentioned the Snickers Hungerithm campaign. Let It Out Iceland is a very recent campaign. Go through all the Burger King campaigns. They did one recently where you basically had to find burgers in not on a website, but basically on every website that you went. I'm sure some of you would have seen the Burn That Ad campaign that Burger King did with McDonald's, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Like, I hope most of you have realized that advertising is more art than science. The science of advertising is something that we use in order to give credence to our ideas, data, past campaigns, successes, etc., are something that give backing to our ideas. But when you sit down to write that ad, you need to be as human as possible. You need to think what you would do if you were a consumer, or what your mother, what your parents would do if they were consumers, and that's about it, right? I hope you guys had a good time.
I'd like to hop in at this point and first of all thank Prakash for such an enriching session. We got to know many stories of well-known brands, stories that we weren't aware of, from Snickers to Burger King. I think advertising is one of the fast-moving fields of profession today, And especially in a pandemic affected world, the strategies are changing with a high speed. And to have gained insights from an expert like you in such a time, I think that was a great opportunity for all of us. So thank you everybody for joining today and have a great evening.